BodyBags, where horror lies.
Hey guys, Rob from Georgia here with you. I'm your regular Wednesday evening host here at BodyBags. It is week 421. It is random week, and it really truly feels like a random week for me because the choice I made here was literally at the last second. I thought I was going to run another direction, and then I just changed it up at the last second. Just recently, of course, you already know what we're going to talk about, but I got my package from Scream Factory, the new release for Alone in the Dark from 1982. It is a Jack Sholder film with a pretty excellent cast in here that includes the likes of Donald Pleasence, Martin Landau, Jack Palance, and the others who support are pretty darn good, man. The guy who plays Potter is pretty good, Dr. Potter. And this is it, man. This is nice lip, newly commissioned artwork, but man, that's what I've been waiting for. That old, the original artwork. This is the stuff I grew up with renting on VHS back in the day. I've been waiting for this movie for so stinking long to find a release like that. You know, you find your gems occasionally here and there out there in the wild, but this is one I've just never come across. And so I'm very thankful. It comes fully loaded. There's a lot of stuff in here. 2 running commentaries, one by the director and another separate one by Justin Kurzweil and another person. Of course, he's Hysteria Continues podcast group there as he writes reviews as the Hysteria Lives, I think. And tons of extras. Interview with the director, which I watched last night too. It was pretty good. Actually, it's fantastic. And then lots of, just lots of extras and stuff. TV spots, radio spots, stuff like that, man. It's the stuff you grow accustomed to with a good Scream Factory release. And I'm just going to go out on a limb and say this is one of the better ones. I was really impressed with everything in there. Plus, of course, you get the print, right? And it is the newly commissioned artwork. I really wish it would have been the old stuff, but it is what it is, man. It's still a great, outstanding release. From 1982, put this bad boy in last night and revisit. I have not seen this movie in so stinking long, and really, it's a great movie, man. It's like I think I don't know if I just said it a minute ago, but it's like a siege, man, a horror siege with slasher elements, and you don't get a lot of it. And there's not a lot of gratuity in here. There's nothing really over, just really crazy. But there are some unsettling moments, some creepy moments. And just to watch Donald Pleasence last night, man, and watch him, man, this is a role. Just when you think you've seen the best Donald Pleasence performance, you revisit this, and then you see. And then Martin Landau, I mean, how great is he, right? With all he brings, man, and you could tell he just had fun with his character. And Jack Palance, man, he's one that I don't see enough of. He's really awesome. And really basically what you got here at the core of it is this institution that is sort of being taken care of in some large degree by Donald Pleasence's character who plays Dr. Bean. And he really has a weird way of reaching the really psychotic. In fact, you just sometimes wonder if he's not crazier than the inmates he's a blast to watch. But what you got here as a catalyst is you got this new Dr. Potter who's coming in to fill the void for the previous doctor who is working with those on the 3rd floor, those with the worst of the worst psychotics. And so when they see him come in, they just assume, Frank Hawks, the Jack Palance character, assumes the worst, that their old doctor has been assassinated and this new Dr. Potter has killed him and he's coming to take his place. And so they sort of begin to conspire against him. And Hawks, and the preacher, Martin Landau, is the mad preacher who loved burning buildings up with people in it, churches specifically. And then they got this other guy in there, Ronald Fatty. Can't think of his last name and his character name. But he plays this like hulking, it's the guy who played Dynamo in that Schwarzenegger movie. I just can't think of this. I can't think of the name, but he plays Dynamo, and he's in only like a couple things. But there's some creepy, unsettling moments that involve him. And so, anyways, I think it's Hawks, Frank Hawks. He's a colonel. I think he was a colonel in the military, and they all have this weird baggage. And he's sort of conspires with the rest of the small group that don't worry, our time will come, and when it does, we're going to pay a visit to the Potter house. And so that's sort of the siege element. And time almost, in a weird providential way, there's a power outage in the town, and The only thing that keeps these psychotics in the institution is, as it is, put at the forefront of the film, electricity, and it works to great effect when the electricity is on. I mean, you got windows that will slam shut and doors that will slam shut, but when the electricity goes, they can just walk out, and so there's a power outage, right? And so they've already conspired that they will pay a visit to the Potter house. And at this point in the game, his sisters come to visit. He's got his little daughter, and you could just already see this is not going to end out well. But it's a weird siege film. I mean, it doesn't really work the way we are accustomed to, and so it was a lot of fun, and it's kept me off balance because I'm expecting I'm expecting certain things to happen, and they're not happening. And then when something does happen, it works to great effect, and it's the character. I mean, it's just a fun, stinking movie, and it's one with some subtext lying underneath that. Who are the more crazier, the ones who are locked up in the asylum, or those who are walking freely around us? And there's some of that messaging going on underneath, and it really does get you to think a little bit, as movies ought to, right? In a subtle but powerful way. And so, the siege will come, they'll come, and then things begin to work itself out in a really weird way that by the end, it just sort of, you sort of in part expect, but not really, and are taken by surprise, I think, by how the movie does finally reach its conclusion. And so, I mean, like I said, I have a hard time putting anything in that late at night. Usually I'm just 51. I don't have that go power anymore. Usually I put something in that late night, it's to fall asleep, it's to crash to. I stayed with this the entire thing. I was like really super intrigued by the whole concept and revisiting, because it's been so long. I probably rented this on VHS when I was a kid. And so, so it was a fun watch, man. I don't want to get too far deep into it if you haven't seen this movie like me in forever. And if you're really thinking about pulling the trigger, I would say just the packaging, the acting, the story, it's a different movie, man. And it's one that helped lay a foundation for New Line Cinema. We often just go right to Nightmare on Elm Street, right? But this had a part, and this guy would go on to do Nightmare on Elm Street 2 as a habit. That's your director there, and Wishmaster 2, I think, and The Hidden. This is your guy. Tom Savini has a little work in here, not a lot, but he got called in as a favor. It's sort of a nightmare sequence involving an apparitional zombie-like thing, and it really does work to good effect. It's pretty good. And the other major special effects guy in here that's doing work will later join Savini on his remake of Night of the Living Dead in '90, which is pretty cool. And so the cinematography is pretty cool, man. You got this guy, he's done a ton of stuff. I can't remember any of it, maybe Squirm, but I mean, he's done a lot of work. If you just go into IMDb and start looking at what they've done, man, you'd be surprised, I think, at what they've all done. Yeah, New Line Cinema, 1982, Scream Factory release, tons of extras, totally loaded. I'm so glad, I'm so thankful that they retained the original artwork for it. Reversible cover art, as what you can generally come to expect with a collector's edition, right? I'm just glad, man. It's one of those rare movies. I'm just glad to have it in my collection and to look at, and it's fun, man. It's fun to go back. And 1982 is that year for me, man. That is my year, and so it's good, man. It's good. It's fun. Slasher elements. There's some gore. There's not near as much as you would think. It's not like Savini had his hands on this whole thing or anything. That wasn't the intent of the movie, I don't think. It was meant to work in a much different level. And it does, man, it does. So I mean, for week 421, I just wanted to bring your attention to this new release. I've got it. A lot of other people probably have already got it and opened it up. But maybe some of you didn't know, and that this is out there and that you can get your hands on it. And it's well worth it, I think, for the packaging and everything in the movie. And it's always fun, man, checking out another freaking outstanding performance from somebody like Donald Pleasence, right? But even the other cast works to good effect to support. It's just fun, man. It's a fun ride. So, anyways, in week 421 is random week, truly random for me because this is like last second stuff. Alone in the Dark, Jack Sholder from 1982. We finally got this thing. I'm so excited to have this in my collection. And Yeah, just lost my voice with the Bulldogs last night, I guess. And so, anyways, got my Bills today. We always end these things off with "Go Bills."
This is not a dream. Not a dream.